All right. Well, the old clock has struck 8 o'clock on the West Coast. That means time to get the show on the road. I just want to say thank you for everybody who's joined me today for an overview of RPR commercial. Wanted to mention, I pointed this out earlier, but there is a handout available to you, and all that is, and I'll pull it up really quickly for you. This is kind of your step-by-step process on how to create an RPR commercial account. That way, if you haven't done it, nice kind of little process here. As I mentioned earlier, the only real tricky part for creating your RPR account is locating your Catalyst ID. So on the back side, pretty quick and easy way to show you how to do that. So that way, when you are logging into RPR, all of the on-market data coming in from your Catalyst system will show up as well. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll dive into a bit of a PowerPoint presentation just to kind of go over what RPR commercial is and RPR in general is. And then what we're going to do is jump into a couple scenarios and just kind of run through the platform so that you have a pretty stout overview of what you now have access to. So if I forgot to introduce myself, my name is Nathan Graham. I am the Director of Commercial Services over at RPR. Feel free to jot down my email, nathang@narrpr.com. And let me know what you like, what you don't like, and how we can make things kind of work better for you. All right, so RPR is a realtor exclusive benefit. What that means is actually we are owned by the National Association of Realtors. So we're a subsidiary corporation. Part of the dues money that everybody is putting towards NAR comes to fund the projects that we're working on. So because of that, the only way you're able to get access to the system is from being a realtor member. And it's also important in my mind to understand, the things that we build, there's no extra cost to you as a realtor to get access to them, but you are paying for this in a way through your NAR dues. So I do encourage you, as I mentioned earlier, let us know what works, what doesn't work, how we can make things better. Realtor feedback is the way that we learn how to improve the system. So, from a technology side of view, what I would say is we're really striving to create, the best property-centric database in the country. And we'll talk a lot about how we're doing that. But basically what we have are public records as a base platform, and we just layer more and more data on top of that. For commercial, we've kind of found our niche as being excelling in the research and analytics side of your day-to-day business. So we'll touch base on how we kind of help you out with those processes, things like site selection, trade area reports, and those kind of great details. Ultimately, what we want to do is help save you all a little bit of money, maybe some time, create some efficiencies in your day-to-day work business, and help you close some more deals. Like I mentioned earlier, our base is public record data, which we get from a third party that goes out there and works with all the local municipalities. So we have public record access across the country for you. So you can see up to 166 million parcels across the residential and commercial sides, which with that comes, details like zoning information, owner names, those kind of great details, deed records, tax information, all those kind of things. So, you're not limited to using RPR just for your local markets. You can go anywhere in the country and really start to look at properties and research them that way as well. So keep that in mind. For sale or lease information. So this is how we learn, what's on market. The way we get those types of data points is from our agreements with local boards, such as the MRCIE. So with MRCIE, we have an agreement that says any information or properties that an agent enters into y'all's Catalyst system will then come across, and that data will show up in RPR. So that's how we get all of our on-market available properties. I always get the question, does LoopNet send information, or CoStar, or Commercial Search, or any of those kind of marketing platforms on a nationwide basis? And unfortunately, they do not. The easy way to explain that is if they started sending us that data, no matter what the cost is, they're going to lose a lot of members. So they have chosen not to do that at this point. So that's on-market information. Let me back up just a second. The only other thing to point out for on-market information is this is the only part of the system that you have any limitations to. If you're not a member of the MLS or CIE, like in, let's just say, Florida, you may not get to see their on-market data. So that's the limitation within RPR. You definitely get any on-market information that you are a member of, but not every local organization opts into allowing every realtor to see their on-market data. So that's the only point in the system where there may be a limitation on nationwide coverage. Esri's data, this is pretty much the backbone of the commercial platform, at least. This is our major data partner. As you can see, they're used by, Fortune 500 companies, colleges, universities, large cities for economic development. And what they provide is all of the economic and demographic data, or at least most of the economic and demographic data that we have in the platform. And they also build out what are called tapestry segments, which we'll cover inside of the system a lot more. But basically, those are consumer preferences, how people live, what people like, what they don't like, those kind of things. So as far as understanding the environment that your client's going to be moving into, or at least showing them that report, it's a pretty powerful part of the system. And again, nationwide access to that. We also have a lot of maps throughout the system, which we can toggle on and off certain data points like traffic counts and business points of interest. Or heat map layers, and we'll show you a lot of those tools. One of the most efficient things that we have in the system are our site selection tools, and we'll go through an example of this, but we have two kinds of site selection tools. The first one is the one that's kind of shown here. This is our attribute-based site selection tool, so you can see you plug in a couple of attributes about the people you want to be around. And then you can do a quick search in the area and it'll show you where those folks are living. So you can save a lot of time this way. Instead of searching all of the San Francisco area, you can target certain neighborhoods or zip codes and those kind of things. The other tool that we have in there is there's two of them, but they're kind of the inverse of each other. And that's more of a retail-based supply and demand. So it looks at how many grocery stores are in an area and are there enough of those to support the number of people that live there. And then it factors in competition and a couple other things to kind of show you where you might want to go to add another grocery store or a restaurant. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well. Investment analysis, I guarantee most of y'all are working with investors. So we do have a partnership with a company called REFM, which stands for Real Estate Financial Modeling. And they've built a product called Valuate. So on every property, residential, commercial, you have a little link that says property investment analysis, and you can jump from that into the Valuate platform. And from there, you can do multiple analysis from a long-term hold analysis to a flip analysis, and they're actually starting to build out for land developers what are called back of the envelope analysis. So but that's a whole nother 30, 45 minute course. So if you're interested in that, let me know at the end and I can kind of point you in the right direction to get some training details on the investment analysis piece. All this data is pretty incredible, but it's not so useful if you can't show it to your clients. So we have a lot of great reports that we've built out throughout the system. And of course, I'll show you what each of those kind of looks like. We have a mobile app out there. And it's important to know that there's only one app for the residential and commercial folks. The way that it works is similar to how the system works. You can go into the mobile application, and then on this little green cog up in the top left-hand corner, you can choose how to use the app, either as a residential practitioner or a commercial practitioner. So the app's pretty cool, though. It pretty much has everything that the website has, minus those site selection tools that I talked a little bit about earlier. One of the neat things over the last year and a half, 2 years, has been the boom of commercial real estate technology providers. And with that has come a lot of opportunities to integrate with some of the leaders in the industry. So we've done a couple of those at this point in time. We're always looking for more integration points. One of the newest ones is this with commercial search. This is an Xceligent product. Xceligent is the only competition for CoStar. And commercial search therein is their version of LoopNet. So the difference, in my opinion, is really, well, first of all, commercial search is a lot more realtor friendly. There's no cost to create an account. You can also enter in your NRDS number, and from there you can jump into RPR directly from commercial search. So it's a really great kind of secondary look for on-market properties that may not be in the CIE there locally or in the MLSs locally. So it's a really great source, and this is nationwide as well. So it's pretty cool. Another integration point, CRM systems are obviously really important for especially the commercial world. We've integrated with one called Client Look, and it's kind of a similar concept. You connect your RPR NRDS number that way, and then you can pull reports from RPR trade area reports and so forth, and then upload those to your client databases or the property database. So pretty nice there. Learning resources, I will say what we're about to go over is pretty in-depth. There's going to be a lot of details, and we're just doing a broad overview for the most part. So you're probably going to want to brush up every once in a while. And we have a whole bunch of videos available for you. If you go to our blog page, and I'll point out where you can do that. You can watch on-demand videos. You can sign up for some I guess you call it live webinars like this one. And there's just lots of training available for you. So I would encourage you to kind of take advantage of that. So let's go ahead and close this out. And I thought we should probably start here from your MRCIE.org Catalyst front page. First of all, congrats on going with Catalyst. I've worked with them quite a bit. They are obviously one of the industry leaders for CIE systems. They're very innovative in what they provide, and overall, I think they're a really great company with some really great folks involved there. So, congrats on having that and having that offered for your commercial community. It's not every organization, group, state, city has a CIE for the commercial practitioners. A lot of folks are still mixing commercial with the residential MLSs. So it really is a powerful thing to have a designated commercial platform like this. All right, enough about that. So I just wanted to start off here so I can show you all how to get from your MRCIE website into RPR. You can see here the tools side, there's a little RPR link. And here we have kind of a real quick, what is RPR commercial? This video is, I don't know, a year or two old now at this point, but it just gives you a nice little overview of kind of what you can do with the system. You can also click from here and log in or create an account. Let's go ahead and do that. And since I've already logged in, let me sign out for you so you can kind of see what that looks like. Since I've already logged in, it'll just drop you straight in there. But if it's your first time coming to this page, this is where you can create that account, and you can use that PDF flyer that's in the handout of GoToWebinar to kind of walk you through that. Once you've created your account, you see it drops you directly in there. Or if you have to kind of sign back in, you can do that. The one thing I would say is there is this little toggle up at the top. So if you want to focus on commercial, you just toggle it over to commercial. And that way the system will remember that you prefer to start over here on the commercial side versus over here on the residential side. But it's pretty easy to get obviously between the two, just clicking on the residential and commercial links up there. Now, once you've created your account, I would probably just step into my account details page, uploading pictures, little company logos, adding my contact information. You can also add details like a lot of folks might have somebody that works for them or with them in teams. So you can add people to run reports as you and use the system as you, so they can kind of help you run some of those trade area reports if you're out in the field, and email them over to you. But from there, the system's pretty simple to kind of get into and start using. There are really three main ways to jump into RPR. You have your go-to search, you have your go-to analysis, and then we have our go-to map section. This search section, y'all have done a bazillion and a half searches throughout your careers, I'm sure. Ours isn't much different from what you're used to. There are a couple little nuances that I'll point out though. The go-to analysis, this is what I like to call our site selection toolbox. So those three site selection tools are in there. And then this is our thematic map. So if you prefer to kind of do a visual search, maybe layer on some data or see what kind of businesses are in an area before you start looking for properties, it's a great way to do that. Now down here, obviously, we have all the recent properties, recent searches, recent reports that you've run. We have here a nice little advertisement for the RPR mobile app. We have some My RPR stories. If it's your first time, you can call some of those folks. Down here, like I mentioned, our blog page. You can leave RPR every once in a while, I guess. But the blog page here, this is where you can go and learn more about the RPR platform. We have obviously a blog that has a lot of articles on here. So you can see we do a lot of writing about how people are using the system, what's coming up with the system. Some of the updates come out every month. So it's a great way to just kind of keep up to date with what's going on. But for y'all, probably this little training tab is the most important one, where you can dive into online workshops or on-demand video learning and kind of keep up with the training afterwards. Another little cheat code, if you just go to YouTube and type in Realtors Property Resource, pretty much all of the training videos that we've done are posted up there as well. So that's a nice little kind of on-demand opportunity for you also. And lastly, on the homepage here, a couple of ways that you can, quickly get assistance. First is this little help button. So if you want to type in, how or, what is Valuate for the investment analysis, you can either send in and contact folks this way, or you can come through here and click on any of these top suggestions as well, as far as how to get some what we call our help desk area. And then over here we have basically 24/7, 365 customer support. These folks are based in Omaha, so you could just drive over there if you're close to the home office there. But these folks are employed by RPR. They're trained by us. They actually get tested on the system, so they're very knowledgeable about how it works and what you can do to kind of streamline some of your efforts. This is also a great way if there's enhancements you would suggest for the system. You can plug those in as well. And the way that works is that'll create a ticket for us, and it'll let us know that as more people request a certain thing to get done, we'll focus more time and efforts on that request. All right, so enough about that. Let's go ahead and jump in and start using this bad boy. So this is just the basic search field, typical little search bar there. You got your property type selections down here. You can plug in more details if you want. Since we do have public records, you can also pull up sold data from your public records by plugging in date range, for instance, or 1 week, 1 month, 6 months, etc. on back. And up here at the top, you'll notice we have 3 radio buttons. We have an all property, for sale, for lease. So this will pull up everything that's in the system, and it has different, secondary search fields than if you're looking for just something that's for sale or for sale or lease. So when I change that, you'll notice now you can put in a price range, listing status range, some keyword searches, those kind of things. And the same thing for the for lease side. This will allow you to price and the lease per square foot and all that kind of good stuff. So the big, nuance for us is since we have all properties and we know that not everybody wants to pull up off-market properties for every search, we've kind of pulled those out so that you can set what type of search you're looking to do there. So for us, I'm going to go ahead and just clear all that and do a basic search here. So we're going to jump into Douglas County, Nebraska. And we'll just leave all of this kind of as is. I'm going to have this set to all properties so you can kind of get an idea as to how many records that we have in the system here. There we go. So we have almost 31,000 properties that have popped up. And you can see this is all property types. This is all statuses. So you'll get stuff like recently sold properties. And you can see here, this is coming from public records. We have some for sale or available properties there as well. We pull up some just random off-market properties that haven't recently sold or anything. That's just records that we have in the system. But This gives you an idea just as to how many records are in there for you to kind of use as your research and analyzing what opportunities might present for your clients. So obviously going through 31,000 properties is a little much for us though. So let's narrow this down just a little bit. Let's say that we want to focus in on just some industrial properties, and we can just apply that. It's always nice to know that you can start a little bit broad in your search, and then as you want to narrow factors down, you can still use things like building size or number of units to narrow your searches down a little bit there. So, but now we're down to 1,500 or so properties. We can choose how many we want to look at one time. We can also sort this list by most expensive, least expensive, number of units, building size, those kind of factors for us as well. But at this point, it's pretty much like looking at any kind of search results. You're just trying to see what is appealing to you. We have some pending properties here. We got a whole bunch that have recently sold. If there's one that kind of jumps out to you at this point in time, you can just click on any one of the addresses and jump into our property details page. So this is one of the first points where you see multiple data sources kind of playing together on one page. So we have some public record information, we have the listing detail information, and then we also have some economic and demographic data available for you on this one page here. So, but it's a pretty, it should seem fairly familiar to you. You got your property record details coming from the listing agent over here. Obviously, you have all of the photos that they've uploaded available. You do also have a street view, which apparently this one's not available for some reason. It's probably because it hasn't been driven down. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. But we do have the overhead view as well for you, so you can kind of zoom this out. And all of these, are functionable, I guess, within the map, so you can kind of see how that works. If there is a virtual tour that the agent has uploaded, that will be linked right there. And then as you kind of scroll down a little bit, you get a little bit more details and information. So there's the agent description. This little area here, this is kind of new, and it coincides with the mobile app actually. So within the mobile app and on the desktop as well, you have the ability to add notes about the property, photos about the property, and with the app, you can actually add audio recordings. So it's really nice when you're walking through a property, either you or the client can, jot down some comments. Maybe this one doesn't have enough dock eye doors, or maybe they think they need to clear some space up in the roof to kind of fit some more storage in there, whatever it might be. You can type those notes into the mobile site or just right here on the page. Great location. Let's say half mile to the main interstate. Does not have a rail spike, but closest one is within 5 miles. Whatever it might be that's intriguing to you, has one full drive-in bay. Whatever it might be that your client as they're walking through, or you as you just know about this property, you can add those details to the system pretty easily. You can also upload photos from the system. So again, using the mobile app, you can take pictures from your cell phone and upload them that way. Or if you have some pictures, on your desktop and you want to upload them, you can bring those in as well. So you can see there's a nice little CNC machine, and you can click on it and it will bring up that full blown up view. A cool thing that you can actually do with some of the photos is you can make these your report covers as well. So if the number one photo for this site isn't what you would like, you can change it, which is a pretty cool little option also. So yeah, you can add details throughout the system pretty easily. Another cool thing is you can choose whether or not to have these included in the reports. You can edit them at any point in time. You can delete them at any point in time. And nobody else gets to see them. So anything that you add to the system is just for you and for your database knowledge, I guess you could say. As we continue down, you can see there's owner fact information. So obviously this is an incorporated company. A lot of times you'll see LLCs and those kind of things, but you do get the mailing address, and it's pretty easy to look up the individuals that are kind of leading the companies. So if you want to do some farming, it's a nice place to kind of get that started up. And then down here we have our property facts. So this is a great little section because you have property fact details next to listing fact details, and then we have this column here which allows you to confirm information and also to add more details as well. So we can come through here, manufacturing. You can type in the number of buildings. Maybe there's one major one and then a little storage shed back there, number of units, number of stories, 5 baths, 5 full baths, whatever you kind of want to do to clarify details. A lot of times you'll see some discrepancies between the public facts and the listing facts, so you can kind of clear those up for your client that way. And another cool thing you can do here is add other details, like I was saying. So, if you're or your client's interested in dock high doors, you can add that detail. Just click the add button and type in however many there might be. So you can throw those in. You can do ceiling height, add that. Maybe this is 33 feet. Hit the save button. So it's a pretty cool way to kind of update details and add things that maybe aren't included every time in the property listings. Again, you can delete these. You can change them whenever you want. Just hit that save button and you're good to go. So as we continue down, it's just more and more information. So you can see we always try to show you where this information is coming from. So you have price change history, interior features, exterior features, your location details, other information coming from listing and public records. You got your building quality. There's your legal description information. There's your mortgage records. And then lastly, we have at the very bottom here, your tax information. So a lot of great details about this property here. I do want to point out really quickly before I jump into the report, right over here on the left-hand side, this is your property analysis for investor link. So when we click on that, this will actually drop you into the Evaluate platform. And from here, this is where you would plug in a couple of assumptions to start off with, which are going to be your year one revenues and your year one operating expenses. But you'll notice RPR, we do try to feed as much information in here as possible. Once you've kind of set up, when your fiscal year is going to be, the loan to value, number of investors, all those details, you can hit the submit button, and then you can actually load more information. So you can plug in things like renovation expenses on, month 1, 5, and 12. You could plug in things like, maybe you want to factor in that you're going to have to fill the space, and it's going to take you a little bit extra time to do that. So you can factor in a lot of details there: one-time purchase expenses, transfer taxes, sales costs, what your sales cap rate expectancy is going to be, all this types of information, so that you can really get a full understanding for the internal rate of return that you hope to kind of see from this investment. The other thing that I want to show you before we dig into the reports is on these maps, we actually had a really cool new enhancement. And what that is, it allows you to do trade area reports, which is, understanding the community using these drawing tools. So we could do, for instance, a drive time report if we wanted to. And let's say we wanted to know about the 10-minute radius around here. We would just drop the pin, set it to 10 minutes, and then click on create a trade area report. So that's a pretty cool new little feature. And I'll show you here in just a bit what the trade area details and information looks like, but I just wanted to make sure that y'all are aware that that's available now. All right. So let's say that this is a great property for our client. They're going to be very interested. We want to create a report. We can come down here to the commercial property report. You can see we can choose what information we want to include or exclude. We can exclude those mobile notes that we added if we would like to, or, I notice a lot of people will take off historical photos if this property's been in the system 3-4 times, just to kind of save on some printing. You can also add custom pages, which is kind of a neat little feature. So if you look over here on the right-hand side, there's a little option that will allow you to add a PDF. So all you got to do is browse for your PDF file that you want to include. I'm just going to include this Reese sample report that I have here. And you can upload, anything like a market analysis. You could upload, company information, your information, what your plans are for the system and all that kind of good stuff. This one might have been a little bit too large for me to use in the demo, but there we go. Now she's speeding up. She just needs a little coffee. And you can choose beginning or end of the report. I usually like to throw mine in at the end. If it was a description about my company or something like that, though, I might want that at the beginning so they can kind of understand who's presenting all this to them. But then you just hit the save button. And now you can see up here at the top, custom pages, report samples up there now. So if that's checked, that's going to be included on my report. So now what we do is just click on Run Report. You can see it's only going to take a couple of minutes to run that report. Up here in the left-hand side, you can see that it's now pending. However, in order to save us a little bit of time, I went ahead and ran one earlier today so you can see what it looks like. So we have here the cover page, obviously with the #1 photo. There's where your picture and your company information will all populate. Over here on the right-hand side, we have all the details from the public facts, the listing facts, and then those refinements that I added in there. Next up, we have basically it's everything that we looked at on the property detail page, just a nice orderly manner. So you have all of the property facts with the feature details. Here's kind of the public facts, the owner information, assessed value details, mortgage records. Here's all the overviews, so you can see, where this building is situated within the community. Next up, you have the property photos uploaded by the agent, so you can kind of see all the great interior shots, the bay doors, all that kind of fun stuff. And then we have the photos that I uploaded and the note that I added as well. And that's it. Oh, sorry, I forgot the REIS report. So the attached REIS report at the very end there. This is, if you haven't heard of REIS, they're a pretty interesting company as well. They do economic reports pretty much nationwide for the major metro areas. So it's a pretty interesting little company also. But yeah, you can attach all those. You can see this is now up to 89 pages, most of which is that REIS report. This actual R report's only 8 pages here, so it's a little bit easier to digest. Let's go back into the property details page though, because I want to show y'all down here on the right hand side. Underneath all this economic and demographic data, we have a little button here that says more about this trade area. And this information is what I was showing you with the map drawing tool that you can do for a 5-10 minute drive time, a 1-3 mile radius. And you'll be able to see some of the details about this area. So this one right now, it's set up to what we had searched at. Let's say I just want to zero it down a little bit. We'll just go with the zip code for right now. Hit the submit button, and it'll update for just this zip code area. And it'll also kind of zoom in on the boundary map for us as well. So now this is set to the zip code, and you can see here household income levels, age information, total pop, young and restless is that first tapestry segmentation. But basically you have all the population details. You got your age information, which segments are the largest here. Lots of 20-year-olds, folks married, unmarried, what kind of income levels do they have? We have average, median, per capita, and disposable. Here's your education levels. And, one thing that I like about the system is that it does benchmark. So you can kind of see if this zip code is on par with the county and on par with the state as well. So it's kind of neat to have reference points for this type of data. Again, we have your employment and unemployment information. I don't know why it's taking so long for that chart to come to. Let's see if we can get it to generate. There we go. So now you can kind of see how this area stacks up. And then we have your home value information here as well. And if you notice, each one of these had a little about this data display. So if you're curious where this information is coming from or how we're calculating things, you're able to view that. Now down here, this is the Esri tapestry segmentation. This is where you get a lot more, color to the community. So you can understand who's living there, what their preferences are. Do they like, organic food? Do they prefer fast food? What appeals to these folks? How might you be able to guide your client to shape, maybe their marketing campaigns or little things about their business to be more appealing. So up here at the top, you have two kind of broad categories. This first one, life mode groups, I believe there's 11 of those that Esri has created. This looks at kind of one major attribute and then kind of averages it out across the country. So you can see Midtown singles. And then over that little question mark, you get a little description about who these folks are. So let's see, they are millennials on the move, single, diverse, urban, seek affordable rents and apartments, work in service or unskilled position, usually close to home or public transportation. Single parents depend on their paychecks to buy supplies for their very young children, embrace the internet for social networking and content. Radio and television fill their lives, very brand savvy shoppers who select budget friendly stores. So again, it's nice to have this basic, information, the population density and spending numbers, but kind of getting a little bit more into the details of who these people are and what they like to do is very valuable. This other one over here, this looks at where people live and how that affects their lifestyle. So this one's metro cities. But you can understand, somebody that lives in an urban environment versus someone that lives in a more rural environment is going to have a different lifestyle. So it just kind of talks about what those lifestyle differences are. And then down here we have what are the top tapestry segments for this area. So we'll do up to 5 of them. And you'll notice that there's, I believe, 67 tapestry segments across the country, so you won't see all of them. And these are a little bit more specific to the areas they're within. So again, it's just grouping the attributes together so that you can identify clusters of people. Same concept though, you can come through here and you can see who these folks are, what they're doing. And then down here, they have even more ancillary information about the community. So residence type, are they renters? Do they live in single family homes? Are they married, single? Do they have kids? Are they married without kids? What's the diversity index? Household income levels? Home ownership, if they are renters, you'll see that we can provide you with the average monthly rent. If most of them are home owners, we show you what the median home value is for that property as well. So it's kind of a nice little way, what their employments are, what their education levels are, preferred activities, eat at Chili's, Chick-fil-A, Panera Bread, shop Warehouse Club, home improvement stores, buy American-made products, buy frozen convenience foods, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So again, all of this is just here to kind of back up or maybe provide data to help your client decide whether or not one property is a better fit for their preferred business than another property. So you can see how this report would pretty much go hand in hand with the property report, and even more so the 3 miles around that property report, which gives you a nice little customized version of that. But let me show you what the trade area report looks like for this area. So let's see here. There we go. Actually, I can show you what the 3 mile one looks like as well. So this is the 3 mile report. And the way it works for us is we do a 3 mile loop, but any census block group that 3 mile touches, we just roll into the data. So that's why it doesn't look like a perfect radius there. But then it's pretty much the same information as, the easier to kind of roll up data blocks that we have. But you can kind of see here, it's basically everything we looked at on that front page. We just get into a lot more details about each of those tapestry segments. So this is that first description of them, and then you have more stuff about their neighborhoods, their social economic traits, their market profiles. For transparency, we show you exactly where this information is coming from. And as we continue down, you can see even more details here. So we bring in projections now to those, kind of static data points that we were looking at: population density details, household size information. This one's always interesting to me to just see if this community seems to be getting younger or older or kind of staying the same. We do not project marital status. That'd be a little creepy. Average household income levels are projected. You got your unemployment rates, employment count by industries included here, education levels, just lots and lots and lots and lots of data here to help you kind of decide whether or not your client's going to be a good fit. And then lastly, we have here, this is our best retail business report. This is actually one of our site selection tools. So what it's saying is for this zip code that we have looked in, there are not enough shoe stores, bars, jewelry stores, gas stations, etc. And there might be too many, or at least there's heavy competition in these other segments on the left-hand side. So the way this works is it looks at living population. So it might be that this area has a high number of tourists or a high number of daytime workers. That helps support some of these things that might look a little bit overbuilt. It could also just be that, there's a lot of kind of niche sections within here. So, this isn't designed to say you can and can't put in a, clothing store in this area. It's just designed to say, hey, based on the population, based on the number of clothing stores in this area, it appears from a data standpoint that we might have too many of those based on the number of people that live there. But by no means is this an end-all, be-all type of report. It's just a, hey, get your brain thinking about some stuff. Go out there, drive around, see what's working, what's not working. All right. So next up, let's actually jump into some of those site selection tools. So we're going to go here to the analysis section. And the way this works is we have 3 different tools here. We have this one, which is our attribute-based selection tool. Then we have these 2 down here, which are, again, the inverse of each other. And they are retail specific. So they're looking at finding the best location for a specific business. So maybe you have a restaurateur that's coming to town and they just want to know where some good spots are on a competition level. And then there's also down here, what's the best business for location? This is actually that report we just looked at with the bars going left and right. You can run that as a 1-pager. And, people use that to kind of help get some ideas going about who a good tenant might be for an open space, or if they're looking for a tenant mix in a shopping center or something like that, just to kind of see what the competition looks like there. So since we kind of already saw these 2 and we're running a little tight on time, I'm going to skip going over these. These can be your homework assignment, I guess you could say. And we're going to focus on this top one. And I really like this top one because in my mind, it's a little bit more flexible. So those bottom 2 are definitely more focused on, the retail world, which is great. But this one up here, this one can be used for basically any type of opportunity you're looking to get into. If you're opening up a restaurant, there's going to be a type of consumer you want to be around, or a retail shop. If you are looking for a multifamily product, you might want to target, young professionals who have a college education. If you're looking for, an office space, there might be a type of employee that you want to be around. So there's all types of ways that you can use this attribute-based system. So what I thought I would do is go into Lancaster County here. And what we're going to do is we're going to imagine we are looking for some senior care facilities. So we want to plug in a couple of attributes of the people that we want to be around, and then we're going to see where in this county those folks live. So for a senior care facility, there's a couple of things that I want to look at. The first one's pretty obvious. We want to look at who they are, and we want to come down here to the age information. And next up, there's options. We could look at 60s, 70s, and 80s if we want to check those 3. But I always encourage folks to combine data, or at least these attribute points, when possible. So you can see seniors, this is just people over 60. So that works. So we'll go with areas that have seniors. Next up, we probably want to understand what type of senior care facility we want to put in. Is it going to be, something like in Florida where they have the villages and there's like 30 golf courses around, each one of these little communities? Or is it going to be, a little bit smaller, maybe a 6 to 10 bed conversion of like a small multifamily project or something like that? So understanding what the folks can afford is probably a pretty good idea. So we'll plug in median net worth so we can see where the high net worth is and where the lower net worth is. And then we can also come in here. And one thing that I learned was a lot of times these type of developers want to focus in on areas where people own homes. So we can go to facts and stats, plug in housing stats, and plug in own a home. And then lastly, we might want to understand what people are spending on medical care so we can kind of determine how big of a factor that's going to be for us. So we can come through here and look at what they buy. And this is an interesting section. I used it a couple years back to help somebody locate a good opportunity for an ice cream shop. And we could pull up, how much people are spending annually on ice cream. So there's a lot of interesting stuff in here. Again, this is one of those tools that you just want to play with. Do searches in areas that you're familiar with and kind of see how the data matches with what you seem to understand about the community. So here are the 4 attributes that I'm looking to be around. I could do one more if I wanted to, but for this situation, I think this more than covers what we're looking to do. And what it's going to do for us, it's going to pull up a nice little map, and we have our nice little legend over here on the left-hand side. So the darker purple areas are going to be the better matches. You can see there's a couple of these, a little sporadic here. When you click on one of those, you can see exactly how many seniors are there, what their rank is, what the net worths are, home ownerships, medical care spending, etc. As we continue down, you can see here we have all the attributes plugged in. This is an important little factor. We can actually change the geography or the boundaries. So right now it's set to cities, but not everywhere within this county has a city boundary. So I always like to use zip codes and update this, just because I know everywhere in the county is going to have a zip code boundary. So this gives you a lot better full coverage of the market you're looking at. So you can see how, how this has vastly changed now. So you get a little bit more details here. So again, you can click on one of these and you could actually do a listing search from the map or an all property search from the map. Another thing you can do is actually come down here. And again, this is a nice little benchmarking report, so you can see how each zip code stacks up to the other zip code. So, if I just had this one zip code's information, I might think that this is a good number, but not knowing what all the other zip codes around it have inside of them, I don't really have a reference point. So it's kind of a cool thing to have here. You also might be working with a client that has a specific place in mind. Maybe they really wanted to be in Hickman, but because you have run this report, you can say, there's definitely better opportunities in some of these places up here. So you can select all of the best matches if you wanted to here. And when you start clicking on these boxes, some of these buttons will appear. And at this point, we could do a listing search for all of these properties, or we could do an all property search, which is pull up, everything that the system has. We could run an analysis, etc. This is also an opportunity if you wanted to go to commercialsearch.com. You could plug in commercialsearch.com and you could grab, a zip code. Maybe you're doing this in California and you don't have MLS or CIE access to California. You could plug in the California zip code here into the state zip, look up the property type, and at least see, if Commercial Search has any on-market properties, or, you go to LoopNet or any of those third parties. But this is a really great tool to help you kind of zero in on what areas are a good fit for your client and, not waste time in these areas that are not as good a fit. So pretty cool little tool. I also highly encourage you to create a report from this, because in my mind, this is usually where I would start off. I would run that site selection tool, either, the consumer based or the attribute based or the supply demand based one, and then start looking for properties and then pull up the trade area report to kind of back up that story. But yeah, so you'd want to run this report. Again, we can show you really quickly what that looks like. It's basically what we saw on the page, nice little outline of the county. And then we have all the zip codes that are within there with their nice, purple designation. This is for the entire area, so you can see we roll up all that data for you, so you can see how many seniors are there, what their net worth is. Then down here we have that kind of benchmarking report for each of those zip codes. And then at the very bottom, we show, for transparency's sake, where this information is coming from, what the actual information is stating. The one thing I will point out, you'll see this for pretty much everything, updated frequency is annually. And that's because Esri gives us one giant file once a year, so everything gets updated once a year. That does not necessarily mean that each one of these data sources, the expenditure data, for instance, I think that does get updated every year, but things like the U.S. Census, that's obviously not getting updated every year. So just be aware of the actual surveys more than, the update frequency there, if you're curious as to how up to date this information is. But I will say, there's no nationwide data source that has more up to date information than Esri. They go out and update things as frequently as possible. All right. So let's go back to the main page here. We have about 10 minutes. I want to show you all some of the map functions. So let's go here to the maps, the thematic maps thing. And from here, we can plug in an area. And like I said, this is kind of just a little different way to do your searches in my mind. If you wanted to kind of look at things on a more visual level before you kind of do your property locations. And what's cool about this is you can start off by layering on specific indicators. So we have demographic indicators, residential real estate indicators. One interesting residential real estate indicator is the flood zone. So if you're curious where our flood zone maps are, you just flip that one on and you can plug it in that way. It's not the best labeling. It's not really just a residential indicator, but that's where they stashed it. This one's kind of fun. So we can look at demographic indicators like median disposable income, and we can run that analysis that way. So what it's going to do for us, it's going to, and I want to change this to zip codes again. It's going to show us on this map here with this nice little color coding where the higher medium disposable income areas are within this area. So you can click on each one of those and see what the incomes are. Obviously, you can scroll around on the map this way. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, however you kind of see fit. And once you've kind of identified kind of where the hotspot is, at this point in time, you could, maybe flip on a different one. Maybe we're working with like Whole Foods, and they want to be around high disposable incomes, but they also want to be around early adults. You could flip on this key factor here and say, all right, well, this was that area that had the higher income, but it looks like there's a little bit more early adults in this area. So maybe, I want to focus in on this little kind of median market here for my Whole Foods location. So what we can then do is factor in other things such as, let me turn this one off really quickly. If we're looking at a Whole Foods in this area, zoom in a little bit, we could then flip on what our POIs are. So we could come down here, click on show more, and we could click on grocery. And so all those little dots are various grocery stores or convenience stores. And then you can actually click on one of those and you can see what the company's name is. You can see employee base, you can see square footage, you can see there's a little bit of a bug right now we have to fix in the next sprint. It's actually dropped a couple of those zeros there. So we have to update that. But you can get the idea. What you're looking to do here is just kind of click around, see what the competition levels are, see what the opportunity might be in this market for another grocery store. Maybe there's a whole lot of discount grocers, but there's not really a high-end organic grocery store. So that might be an opportunity for us. Another thing that we can do, let me hide that, is flip on our traffic counts. And every one of our maps is going to have all of these options at one point in time. So you can come in here and you can click on one of the traffic counts and you can see historic information. So this is the last historic count that we have, but Calibrate is the company that provides us with our information. And what they do is they have an algorithm that projects up. So kind of gives you that nice apples to apples comparison. So, that one's from 2016 or 2012. That one's from 2012. So you have the actuals there, but sometimes you'll click around and you'll find one count that's from 2012. This one's the last time was updated was in 2010. But they all try to roll them up as much as possible to be one 2016 most recent level for you. Trying to think here if there's a couple other things we can do. Obviously, all of the map drawing tools. Let me turn these all off for a second here. All of these map drawing tools are available to you. So once we've kind of narrowed in where we want to be, we could, draw a box around that market and do a listing search if we wanted to, or create a trade area report if we wanted to dive into it that way. We can use all of these, different pin tools. So, one thing that I've learned people are doing a little bit now is, especially if they have a clientele base that's similar to those that like go to, Target or Walmart, they'll say, all right, I just want to be within a, 5-10 minute drive time of this Walmart location. They spend a lot of money on all that consumer research, and I just kind of want to piggyback off of that. You can locate the Walmart, choose, the time of day, the day of the week that you want to focus in on, choose your drive time, and then do your search area here as well. So it's a pretty cool little tool set up. And again, all of the maps that we've seen on the property detail page, the property search results page, etc., they all have each of these functions. So any one of them you can layer on. these different demographic indicators. These drawing tools are available. You can also flip on the POIs, traffic counts. We have aerial shots. We have overhead shots. And it's also kind of cool. I see a lot of folks nowadays, they'll actually do a screenshot of the maps here, and then you can actually annotate these within your preview tools or your Microsoft Paint. I don't know if Microsoft still does Paint, but any of those map drawing tools that you can then put in, different logos of the corporate entities, or point out where the intersections are, stoplights, or whatever it is you want to kind of do with the maps from there. So a lot of cool stuff here. We have about 5 minutes, and I think I've seen a couple of questions pop in. So I'm going to go back to the homepage here, and we will do a quick little Q&A session. So let's see what we got. Is this webinar recorded? I have a couple agents who are unable to join and would like to share this with them. Yeah, Matt, it is recorded, and I will actually send this out to the MRCIE kind of staff managers, I guess you would call them, and they will follow up with or I was told they will follow up with everybody and send this out and let people kind of catch up that way. Again, there's also, if you go to YouTube, it's the webinar that's on there right now is a couple years old, but it'll give you an idea as to what the system has available. So if you go to, let's see if I can just pull it up for you, youtube.com. And then if you just type in, Realtors Property Resource, I obviously subscribe to them, which I would encourage all of y'all to do. But there's a playlist option here, and you can see RPR commercial workshops. And pretty much all of the training we've ever done is up here. Some of them are newer than others, but there's a lot of opportunities there. And then, of course, if you go to our blog page, there's a couple of trainings that are available that way also. But yeah, this is being recorded, and you should get an email with access to that relatively shortly after this. Okay, well, I do not have any other questions queued up. So with that, I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Hopefully y'all got a little bit out of this. Hopefully you're excited to jump into RPR commercial and enjoy the integration with MRCIE. We're really happy to have y'all as a part of our family here. Yeah, keep us up to date on how you're using the system. And again, I can't encourage this enough, but if you have ideas about what's working, what's not working, call our customer support center, use the live chat box. Let us know how the system's working for you and what we can do to kind of make things better. Y'all have a great rest of the day. Take care.